I'm going to ask Jeralyn, before I begin, to set the mood with the bells. And I've been so blessed to have this genius woman with these gorgeous bells, so that we're going to orchestrate the story here a little bit. Now, Geraldine, we're just about to share what's new, to become a new species, and we're going to contemplate for a moment together with the bells what's new in you. We're going to dwell on what's new in you. Coming up from the whole source of creation, filled with the impulse of evolution within you, activating you to love more, create more, be more, your full potential self now, because it's time. And we are the ones. And why are we the ones? Because we happen to be here. And I said to Diana, let's make the Los Angeles Conscious Life Expo the welcoming committee for the new species. And she said, Diana said, okay, let's do it. And this is really why I believe this is an opening for something more. And think for a moment of those early humans. I mean, cast your mind back to Homo erectus. We don't know Homo erectus. It was extraordinary that out of the animal world had come an early human who stood up. And then just think about Homo habilis, the first tool maker. Huge contribution. We were coming out of the animal world into something new. Now think about Homo Neanderthal. Was intelligent, buried food with their dead, looked very much in many ways like us, and we're told there's still some of them here, maybe in this room, for all we know. But they were actually a beautiful species. But then came Homo sapiens. And you wouldn't probably have noticed the difference in that moment when you saw Homo sapiens come out of the world of Neanderthal. But they appeared gradually. They had no teeth, no fangs, no hair, no tooth, nothing to protect them but intelligence. And gradually, Homo sapiens became Homo sapiens sapiens, the most intelligent creature that ever lived. And what we did, basically, is we destroyed all the others. And when I read recently a book on Homo sapiens sapiens, we were the best killers that had ever been, as well as the most intelligent. We killed off the big animals, we killed off everything unless we could domesticate it, and all the other species are gone. And we are right at the point of using that power of killing and creating to destroy our planetary life support system and proliferate nuclear weapons that one of them or two of them could destroy the Earth. During that crisis, we're here. Now, what are the qualities, if I would be announcing with you publicly for the first time the emergence of a new species on Earth? What are our qualities, and how many of us are there? And what would happen if we got together and showed our own capabilities as a new species as great and terrible as Homo sapiens was in its time. Because do you think that 13.8 billion years of evolution will stop with you and me? And we're perfect, that's it? Is that possible? No, it couldn't stop here. So I'm going to describe some of the members of the qualities of the new species. And maybe you could do a little heralding for the new species, like, how does the new species want to be announced? The new species. Feel it in yourself now. We're going to start sharing, and I'm going to be hearing from you as well. So I'm going to state qualities of the new species that I've noticed deeply in many, many of us. And the first one is a deepening spirituality in which we feel the spiritual impulse running through us, almost like that core of the spiral, animating us to feel ever more participating in the spiritual evolution of reality itself. Is there anybody here who feels a deepening of evolutionary spirituality? Is it already described fully in any old religion? No, not one person. And yet rooted in all of them. Learning from all of them. And when I experience myself evolutionary spirituality as a member of the Homo Universalis, I'm calling us, I feel when I say yes to that deep impulse of love and creativity in me, I'm saying yes to a mighty force. Because look at that core of the spiral of evolution. Look what it was able to do from quarks to us. And if it's not stopping here, and we say consciously yes to the impulse of spirituality in us to be more attuned to the impulse of God, to the impulse of creation, to the source of evolution, using both evolutionary language and spiritual language and scientific language, because there is no good language yet for this particular level of passionate experience. So one of the characteristics for me is Homo Universalis is a very deep, abiding spiritual impulse that feels greater, yet is unique to you, and when you say yes to it, it says yes to you. Yes, it animates you, it fills you. All right. Another characteristic of Homo Universalis is what I call vocational arousal. Vocational arousal is you've taken the lid off the top of your vocation and you feel that there is more for you to give and do and be than ever before. Is that true? Yes, that the vocational arousal is the inner impulse of creation itself. When you are spiritually attuned to that inner impulse within you, then you become vocationally awakened to more that you could be, more that you could do than would seem logical as a good job. Yes? Yes. How many of you feel that I'll describe this particular word that I really love about it, is that, let's say I'm going to speak of myself as a woman, the awakening of the feminine co-creator around the theme of vocation. What seems to happen as a feminine co-creator is that if she lives beyond 50 and she no longer has any more eggs She is the egg. She is awakening to her own spirituality and her own vocation and her own gift to give, and she wants to give birth to her own creativity in the world. Is there anybody here like that? That vocational arousal of the feminine co-creator and the masculine co-creator who is no longer willing to just take a job that isn't his true essence and has the courage to stand out and say, my vocation is, I imagine every man here has that within. And there's a couple of words that I love for the feminine co-creator is that after they no longer have eggs and they are the eggs, they enter not menopause, but regenopause. Now, regenopause is new vitality. We are almost a new species. We used to be dead at this. If we weren't dead, we had huge amounts of families to take care of. The woman 50, 60, 70, 80, and counting wasn't here before. I mean, let's be surprised at ourselves. Let's notice how remarkable we are. And when you hit regenopause and you want to give birth to your creativity, you become more beautiful, more attractive, more loving. Yes? Yes. Yes. Instead of haggard and old and dying and ugly. Something happened here. Something happened to the feminine co-creator and, of course, the masculine co-creator. Every feminine co-creator I know yearns for her evolutionary partner. Whether it be same-sex or multi-sex or transgender, that's not the point. What you're really yearning for is a creativity and joining of genius rather than genes. You're yearning for supra-sexual co-creation. Yeah. Supra-sexual. What is supra-sexual co-creation? Well, if you have vocational arousal and you're really yearning to give your gift more fully in the world, and let's say you find someone who loves your vocation and wants to co-create with you, and you get vocational arousal with this person, and you decide it's even more exciting than having a baby. Instead of joining genes, you're going to join memes. You know what memes are? Ideas that create reality. You're going to join not genes, but genius. And if you can be in a supra-sexual attraction with someone who loves your genius, and you love that person's genius, you hit the next level of sexuality, which I'm calling supra-sex. It can be sexual or non-sexual, but it's erotic. It's eros. It's juicy. Yes? Is there anybody here who is anywhere near a kind of supra-sexual arousal relationship? Woo! Yes, yes. Okay, there's somebody right near. Just stand up and say 2 or 3 words what it's like. You.
What it's like for me is it's transpersonal. So what I have done is make a distinction between sensuality and sexuality that lets me be very in my erotic energy with everybody. So I get to snuggle up to the women and be beautiful to women. It doesn't matter if I've got a man in my life. I'm getting in touch, I'm getting fun. And so when we make this distinction between sensuality and sexuality, we get a freedom.
Wow, this is great. No, thank you.
You're welcome.
You could not have said it better. Now, is somebody back there want to say, because they were a hand waving, what's it feel like to be in a supra-sexual vocational arousal? Okay, you with the beautiful long hair. love affair. Yay, congratulations. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you for clarifying it. Okay.
Much serendipity happens, it seems, for us, and we've been co-creators together in life and in our music project for like almost 25 years now, and it's just growing, and we're just getting more in touch with what it is that we're bringing out in the world. And actually, we're realizing how fortunate we all are.
This is so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to tell you another part of the supra-sexuality. I am writing a book with Mark Gaffney called The Evolution of Love. And what he has identified on his own, and then now with me, we're developing it, is that the traditional mate role was wife and husband and children and family. I mean, like, I got married in 51, I had 5 children, I loved my husband, I loved my children, and I got radically depressed. And the depression was not that I didn't love them, but that I had vocation that had nothing to do with what I was doing. And I was the last generation in this culture to get married without the thought of that I should be this. It wasn't just feminine equality, it was feminine creativity. That was the deeper thing. And so I believe that the new species has such a passionate vocation and desire to create, and it has longevity, where we're not dying young, and we have greater and greater health and greater knowledge and travel and capacities, that we are developing a new form of love that is supra-sexual co-creation. And as I go and complete this thought, I think that the world will be saved by supra-sexual love. And the reason I think that is because at the shift point of evolution, where we actually must be more creative, we have to have that impulse of genius joining together out of love and creativity and wholeness, just like you said, in such a way that we bring forward the innovations and the solutions out of love, just like you said you're doing with your music, whether it be music or art. And if you look at that wheel of co-creation, there's health, education, economics, science and technology, government, relationships, arts, and so on. We've decided that instead of being in separate boxes, we're going to come together to connect our innovations, connect what's creative, be synergistic with each other rather than win-lose structures. And that when that starts to happen, and people are ever more excited about joining genius, which happens just as naturally as sexuality. It's not that we have to go to school to learn this. Is that we will be activating, I believe, within the species of Homo universalis, a new form of creative love. That actually will hold within it the particular solutions all the way through, particularly when it's generated from our younger years all the way up. So let's say the qualities of Homo universalis, deepening spirituality, activated vocation, which has the joy of joining genius with others in an erotic, loving way, whether it's sexual or not sexual, in such a way that what happens is, and this is happening to me, is that when two join genius, they give birth to the new human within themselves. Yes?
Yes.
Wow. They give birth to the new human by joining genius with people you love in resonant fields around your creativity and wanting to share your purposes with others. This is as natural as having babies. Isn't that a good discovery?
Yes.
I mean, having babies, nature had two great forces, self-preservation and self-reproduction. Just starting around the 60s, we realized if we had one more doubling of the human population, we'd destroy everything. So the tremendous impulse to reproduce the species has now become children by choice. And the new impulse of life extension and love is joining genius to create, because everyone wants to give that greater gift. And therefore, the innovations in every sector of the wheel already exist by tremendous pioneers in the health field, in the economic field, in the self-governing field, in the spirituality field. So what we're going to end up with is how to create a new world here. And you know how to do it? Connect what's already emerging and working. We're here. We're here. We have not yet gone into synergy. So I want to put one more quality. We have spirituality, we have vocational arousal, we have innovations that are already existing throughout the system, but they're not considered the news. The news is only what isn't working. That'll make you crazy. Really. If you only heard in your smaller local life what's not working, you'd go crazy. So the news is what's emerging in us. That's the news. And then there's high-tech genius. Now, most of us here are not probably in that high-tech creative world. Are there any high-tech technicians in the room? Yes? Good, good. So when you think of just artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, where you can build atom by atom like nature does, artificial intelligence, which is said that we get more, like, because it's always building on itself, can create 1 billion times more intelligence than we yet have. And then there is robotics that can do almost any repetitive work that needs to be done, freeing us or destroying us, but meaning we don't do repetitive work anymore. Now that's not terrible if we can find the work, and because that's going to bring forward the new person. And then we have genetics. It's very scary, but we can change our own genes. So we have been inheriting the powers of gods. Let's have a new sound for God as us. Let's have a new sound for God, having finally incarnated in a species, because the purpose of God is to create co-creators. And let's celebrate God in us. Really. That is to say, the power of God. Not only the purely mystical side of God, but the creative power that went from quarks to us, and now we're building and can build new worlds on this earth, and eventually new worlds in space. We're being born as a cosmic species. The incarnation of God through the high technology powers, joined with our spiritual attunement to greater consciousness, more freedom, more complex order, which is the general direction of evolution, along with the arousal of our own creativity for ever extended lifespans. And they're predicting radical life extension. So what would be the purpose of radical life extension unless it's radical life creativity and love? Otherwise, there would be no reason for it. So we're gaining the powers of gods as a homo universalis. And when you think about that for a moment, how much time do I have? I've lost track of time. Does anybody know? I'm halfway through. Oh, good. So, as you think about yourself now as a member of this emerging species, that because we haven't noticed it really and we haven't shared it together, we don't remember it. But I'll tell you what happens internally to me since I've been noticing this new species and realize I'm a member of this new species. The word that is coming to me is wholeness.
No death anymore.
Hmm?
No death. We are not dying anymore.
Oh, no, I didn't say, I said whole.
All right. But this
I didn't say
belongs
we're,
to that.
yes,
I have this feeling.
that we're not dying anymore.
Yeah. We reached the point, not me, but
I think eventually we're going to have such radical life extension that we will no longer be the animal humans.
yeah.
And I'm doing a whole internet program with humanity's team called Awaken the New Species in You. And I've done a little book called 52 Codes to Conscious Self-Evolution. And I'll tell you the exact process that happened to me, which is to say, I had a conference once with Nassim Haramein, who will be a speaker here. And Nassim was telling me about his contact with extraterrestrials, that he actually had experience seeing them and so on. And then I was going into my meditation and I was irritated. Why have I not seen an extraterrestrial? Where are they? So I was meditating and I said out loud in my morning meditation, give me contact. No idea what to expect. And I began to write in my journal, keep your attention on me. I am your universal self. I am yourself in the future. After this transition, if you keep your attention on me, I am coded with your own evolution. That is to say, every one of us has a potential self greater than we've been able to realize. In this language, your potential self is an incarnation as a field of consciousness in you. And so the guidance is keep your attention on me. I am coded with your evolution. All you need to do is place your attention on it because the script is written inside you. And then there was a description that I wrote in my journal that's in this book, 52 Codes, and it was, imagine yourself completely ecstatic, free of the field of earth, and this is the big shift they talked about Jesus, from Adam of the living soul to Adam of the quickening spirit. What happens is you become able to identify with the core of the spiral that's doing the creating, rather than that which is created by the core. In other words, you begin to be the impulse of evolution that is creative as you, and that it draws in the qualities of being of yourself fulfilled at this new stage of evolution that you can begin to go the whole way with daily meditations on that. So I have a whole 52 weeks that I'm doing on internet that you're all welcome to join if you would like, and we have some of the 52 codes here for you. But what this is actually a meditative process with a group of people where you start realizing your wholeness, because you have a local self, which is an egoic self. You have an essential self, which is the way you are now in most of your normal way of being. But then you have this universal self, and you might have spiritual masters out here, but we're not talking about that. You have your universal self, and when it comes in, basically it says to you, you will fulfill your divine destiny on planet Earth if you say yes to me, which is your own potential self. So you're not giving it to an alternative God or another species. You're giving it to yourself. But what starts to happen is you begin to feel whole. The spirituality, the vocational arousal, the joining of innovations throughout the world, and your own deep vocation of destiny. And so I'd like to tell you, after having gone through this and now being deep in it, that it actually creates the newness within yourself, which is you, integrated and incarnated, and getting ready to fulfill your own divine mission. So here is what I would like to suggest could make the difference on planet Earth. And I want to back up just a moment and tell you about a Nobel Prize winner. His name was Ilya Prigogine. And Ilya Prigogine discovered what he calls the dissipative structure model. And the question was, how does nature get from entropy or disorder to higher order, syntropy, for billions of years, from single cell to multi-cell to animal to human? As the disintegration of the old system occurs, the particular story he tells is that innovations in that system start to appear and look ineffective, but when they finally connect, the system cooperates in its own self-transcendence to a higher order of capacity. So it is by the joining together of that which is creative that the nature of nature has learned for billions of years to create more conscious, intelligent life. Now, we have not been good at that in our species. We're not good at synergizing ourselves. We're good at competing. We're good at separate disciplines. We're good at learning and teaching in many, many very important things, but we're not yet ready to synergize. So here is what I think a plan of action would be during this crisis. You could give a little note of excitement, a plan of action. A plan of action? It rarely happens. Plan of action. Within the next 5 years, we should create an experience on internet, on our planetary nervous system, which is orchestrated to have every sector made visible: health, education, economics, of any culture. We are to invite people who have very creative input in every one of those sectors to be featured, and whose work would be alive on the internet and the books and the networks that they already have, whether it be in health or in education. Think of the masters we already have. They would all be present there. And then the invitation would go out through the internet and every way that we can for each one of us to identify the gift that we want to give. If we go the whole way, take the lid off the top of our vocations, what sector of the wheel does our creativity fit best? And then to put that in and input it into the internet nervous system that already has innovators and creators within it. And as this continues to happen, Jeralyn, the bowls will be needed because there'll be so much excitement. And there's going to be storytellers saying, we're all here. We can now do this. We can now heal. We can now innovate. We can clean the environment. Buckminster Fuller said this years ago. We have the technology, resources, and know-how to make of this world a 100% physical success with enough for everybody without taking it away from anybody if we practice synergetics or synergy. If we do what nature says, bring the separate parts of innovative parts together out of a dysfunctional system, rather than trying to go in and correct the dysfunctional system, you're connecting that which is functional, creative, and good in a field. And now that we have the nervous system, Teilhard de Chardin said, when I read it in 1963, before the internet, he said when the internet, we called it the noosphere at that time, the mind sphere, gets its collective eyes, it will lead to the Christification of the earth. He was a Jesuit. It will lead to the Christification of the earth. I am suggesting that if this team gets organized, like we organize a conference like this, we could do this. I mean, this is way when Diana Maxwell can do it. I mean, really, where is she? No, but people who organize large events would be inviting. And think of yourself for a moment being invited. Let's say we have an internet facility. We have an event going on. We have a date for the birth, if you want to say, like the birth of a baby, and we're calling it a planetary awakening in love, through a unique self-symphony of everybody's voice being heard, of everybody's gift who's in this room times thousands, being given and orchestrated in such a way, technologically at least, so that it can be fed back to us that we are this amazing species. We are growing in capacities that we've never, ever put together as the emergent potential of the human species. And that would be a planetary birth experience in love that would be so compelling that each of us would yearn to give our gift. Which, just think for a moment with me, if you were invited right now, if this existed, to place, and we'll do Lynn McTaggart did this with me. Let's do an intention experiment. And the intention experiment starts out with us intending together a planetary awakening in love. And then we'll do this in just a minute. And then we're going to simultaneously experience ourselves uniquely, giving the wholeness of our gift into the planetary awakening in love, where it fits best and where it's most needed for you to deeply fulfill your potential. Is that a laugh or a yawn? Hi. So let's take this meditation. We have the beginnings of a planetary awakening, where in our nervous system, our internet system, the geniuses and the innovators of our species have placed their gifts and their unique creativity in every sector of that nervous system, which is so structured that you know that you're doing a function. Like, I have a nervous system, I have a heart, I have a stomach, I have a liver, I have a brain. Each organ of creativity and innovation is placed there, and it's beginning to synergize, where one part needs another to fulfill itself, matching needs with resources, even among the greatest innovators we have, all working together for a planetary awakening that we've never seen before, and that is not owned by anyone. The planetary awakening is not an organization, it's an experience for the whole. Now feel yourself intending such an event and giving your deepest creative input the whole way, without just taking the lid off your vocation, the whole way into this awakening. Just feel what you're giving. How does it feel? You're fulfilling your divine potential because it's needed there. It's a field great enough to receive you. Everybody, just feel what it feels like to be able to give your gift within the whole and feel the whole turning on through you and you being infused with the genius of the whole. Like a cell in our living body that's been going on for billions of years. This is the way they've done it. So let us come deeply back in here for a moment. And I'd like for people who feel called just to share what it felt like when you gave that which is your greatest wholeness and gift into the field of the emerging humanity. But anybody, keeping it somewhat in the meditative state, just hear your voices. What does it feel like when you do this? What would it feel like for humanity to have this invitation? Anybody like to? Yes.
I want to cry. Like I feel tears coming out because it's so strong. It's so strong. It's so necessary.
Yes.
And I don't know if I cry because I feel sad or just because I feel like a release.
A release.
I feel like we've been holding on to this energy for so long.
Yes.
Accepting it, and
Yes.
this is like ready to combust and come forth and just like tears of release.
Tears of release. Beautiful. Anybody else like to say how it has felt for you to do this?
Divine orchestration.
Divine orchestration. Exactly. Whatever orchestrated this spiral. If God didn't do it by hand, cell by cell, it's a self-organizing universe of an extraordinary divine intelligence. Yes, we would make ourselves available for divine intelligence to orchestrate it. That's why you would cry. Anybody else? Yes, you back there. It feels, stand up for just a minute, speak out just a little bit. It feels unlimited. It is unlimited because we're being born as a universal cosmic intelligence as part of the genius of evolution. Wow, unlimited. What else does it feel?
Like a homecoming.
Like a homecoming. That's a beautiful thing to say. Because rather than feeling strange or alien, oh my God, there's a new species. No, it's a homecoming because you know why? We are already members of this. And there are millions of us. They come to all these conferences. They read all these books. They take all these workshops. Folks, we're ready. Really? Yes.
As my mentor Jose Arguelles would say, we would be remembering who we are already. We've fallen asleep to our true nature, that we're cosmic beings, and we're remembering our seed, our collective seed. So it's a process of awakening, remembering who we really are.
Beautiful. Jose Arguelles was a dear friend of mine. And one of his ideas that I really love, he said that when the noosphere or this thinking layer or internet gets its collective eyes, when we come together like this and connect with each other, we would become like an alive noosphere that would be in touch with any other planet whose life form had done this. In other words, it's not spaceships arriving, it's noospheres connecting. And I'm going to go hear David Wilcox tonight about extraterrestrial contact. And I did this last year, and I asked his audience, we had a big audience there, do you think we'll have extraterrestrial contact in the state we're in? Do they want to come here right now? Or would it be needy that we need some resonance by that in order to attract? Did we finish? Okay. So he said, we need resonance. So Diana, I wanted you to come up and hold my hand for a minute because of what I feel about you. I feel that we're announcing today the birth of the new species at the Conscious Life Expo, at the invitation of Diana, and that I am suggesting that we dedicate ourselves to participating in a planetary awakening in love event to shift the tide on planet Earth by joining ourselves together. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. The movie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled, yes. And I have one last thing to show you, that there's been a movie made of my life called American Visionary, and I want to show you the trailer for A Goodbye Farewell. And you also will see my BarbaraMarxHubbard.com if you should want to keep in touch with me and help with this to happen. Okay, folks? All right, thank you. Struggling to breathe, running out of energy. At one point, there was a moment of shared pain so great that we stopped. And in that moment of stopping through pain came empathy, came love. And Barbara, in this vision, saw humanity combining our powers with love, empathy, and creativity.
Barbara is seen as the mother of the entire field of conscious evolution.
Not just the mother of it, but the grandmother of it.
Barbara has done more than any single theorist, to spread the idea of conscious evolution. She's been given glimpses of the future, but her time was really not fully until now.
Barbara's quest is to inform people what it would look like if we consciously chose to evolve, rather than wait when there is no time for biology to work.
She was seeing something that was different, the cutting edge of evolution. There will be a shift of consciousness on planet Earth. The new potentials in humanity, the alternative energy, restorative justice, the new economics. War will be considered outmoded and unnecessary. I believe we will have really developed communities in outer space so that we ourselves will become extraterrestrials. It's rife with possibility.
So I'd like to thank Barbara so much for being here, and also Jeralyn Glass for playing these beautiful bowls the entire time. These are all sacred crystal bowls. They have different qualities of different minerals and gemstones. And also Barbara is, she set the intention, talk about setting intention. She set the intention about 30 or 40 years ago to run as vice president. And she did that, and she got very close. We want her to be the vice president now. So Anyway, thank you for being at the Conscious Life Expo. It's really lovely to have you here. And thank you, Jeralyn. Thank you, Barbara.
And we do have another workshop starting here at 6:30, a meet and greet for Carolyn Mace? I always say Miss. For Carolyn Mace, the meet and greet starts at 6:30. We do need to clear out